Hello friends, family, total strangers. Today's video is about the Grand Tetons, which is not where I am right now. This is flash forwarded into time. I'm currently in the Desolation Wilderness. This is Susie Lake, about a 2-hour hike from the lodge I'm working at here in the Sierras in California. But yeah, this video is about hiking, or specifically backpacking, with a dog in Grand Tetons. Now, as you probably know, you cannot go on any trails in Grand Teton National Park with the dog. You know, which is a bummer, but I understand the rules. However, if you go around to the other side of the Tetons, the west side of the Tetons, you have to drive through Idaho to get there, but then you drive back into Wyoming. And you're outside of the national park, so the national park starts right around the peaks. So if you're on the west side, you can take a dog in there, perfectly legal. So we did. And I went with my friend Chris Riley. We camped on the Teton Canyon Road on the way in. There's some dispersed camping along the way. There's also a campground at the end, but we just camped along the creek there. And it was great. And then we set out from there. We just did a one night trip, and we camped one night at the trailhead and then one night in the backcountry. And it was awesome. It was so much fun. And yeah, that west side of the Tetons, you can take a dog. So let me show you the trip.
Awful lot of cowbells in the background there.
Grew up right next to the ocean. Never saw a single one. Ding-a-ling-a-ling! Ding-a-ling.
Feel free to continue talking about Frank J. Lapidus.
His sacrifice enabled the successful rescue of several of his compatriots. And he is one of the great Wahipana of the Big Island. $9,700 feet. I can see the trail where I think we initially cut over.
We just did a little day hike after we dropped our packs, got our camp set up, and came on a little walk up Buck Mountain Pass. We didn't quite make it all the way to the pass, so you're just out for a little stroll. It's pretty amazing. The wildflowers up here. Where's Jax? There he is. The wildflowers are awesome. Yeah, this is Alaska Basin. Beautiful. And just outside of the park. So Jax is allowed. Here's the camp. I believe that's Buck Mountain up there. So yeah, this is Alaska Basin. We hiked in yesterday. It took us about 8 miles to get back here, and then we set up camp and did a day hike up towards Buck Mountain Pass, which was beautiful. So all said and done, we did about 8 miles of backpacking, and then another 4 of just hiking, so a 12-mile day. And then yeah, today we're gonna hike out. You can kind of do this trail as a lollipop, so we're gonna do the other section, which goes down the Devil's Stairs. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, that's our story. Jax did pretty good sleeping in the tent last night. He did growl a little bit during the night, but no open barking. So one of the cool things about this side of the Tetons, the west side, is it's just outside of the park. It's in Jedediah Smith Wilderness Area. So you can have pets. So we could have Jax. There is one little caveat though. I took a bunch of footage of him yesterday running around off leash. And we were looking at the map last night, and pets are definitely supposed to be on leash in the wilderness area. So I thought about just deleting out that footage, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it in, and we'll, this is a learning thing, do a little research before you go somewhere and just make sure of the rules. So we will have Jax on a leash on the way back. And a lot of people do have their dogs off leash back here. We ran into a couple yesterday, but I'm a firm believer in following the rules. If the rules say put your dog on a leash, then put your dog on a leash. Because if you don't, and everybody doesn't, and they're pooping everywhere, they're scaring the wildlife, and rangers see it, eventually it's going to get shut down to dogs altogether. So just follow the rules, and when you do something like I did and screw up, just fix it. Just put your dog on a leash the rest of the time. So yeah, we're gonna head on out now. Heading back. Here we go. Here's the Grand Teton poking up. It's definitely busy as well over on this side of the Tetons, but not nearly as much so as the park side. And yeah, there's a whole lot of country to swallow you up, so we were camped without any other backpackers in sight. So yeah, it's amazing up here. Definitely worth the journey. You can day hike into Alaska Basin, but it's a pretty long one. About 8 miles one way, about 2,500 feet elevation gain, but yeah, worth it. So beautiful back here. That's Meeks Pass, 0.3 miles up there, which is the park boundary, going back into Grand Teton National Park. There's the Grand. And this is the cutoff trail back to the campground, about 7 miles back to the trailhead. We made an impromptu decision to hike up Meeker Pass to the park boundary to see what kind of view we get. It's only adding a half mile to the trip, so should be fun. We'll see what we got. Here we are at Meeker Pass. This is the boundary of the park. You can't cross, buddy. Pretty awesome. Oh, that was a fun little diversion. And now 7 miles back to the campground. This is pretty incredible through here. I'm trying to shield my microphone from the wind. When Jax this morning and last night decided to take a big poop right next to the stream. So when that happens and you're in the backcountry, you're obviously not going to pack it out in your pack for days on end. So I bring a poop trowel for myself. So you just do the same thing, dig a little cat hole for his poop and scoop it into it. I actually took it away from the stream to bury it. Yeah, I mean, it worked just fine. Just fine. These meadows up here are incredible. We must be nearing the Devil's Staircase going down. We'll see how that goes. Approaching the Devil's Staircase. This might be a difficult place to film. That was definitely not a great place to film, so I did not film while I was doing that. definitely not a film and walk type of trail. But super cool. Don't do that one if you're afraid of heights. There's sheer drop off, and yeah, it's a little bit scary, but yeah, awesome trail. So yeah, I definitely should have did a little more research. But in my defense, it doesn't say anything at the trailhead about having a dog on a leash. And normally they do if that's a regulation. It'll say right at the, especially a major access trailhead like that, it'll have a, so I mean maybe it was even legal, but it said on the map that it wasn't, so you know, it was just the right thing to do to leash him up on the way back. So we did, and he had a great time anyway, although, you know, he definitely had more fun off leash. But he still had a great time on the way back, and yeah, that was a great trip. Chris is a character, and yeah, it was a great backpacking trip. So if you have a dog and you head towards the Tetons, I wouldn't even bother with the east side. I wouldn't even bother with the national park side. I would just go over to the west side and explore. I will say, if you can't really hike, the west side is kind of limited. You know, you can go up to Grand Targhee Ski Resort, and you can, in the summertime, they run a lift that goes up, and you can take the lift up and get some great views. So if you can't hike, that's a great option to see some stuff over there. But you can't take your dog on the ski lift, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so the west side of the Tetons, awesome. Outside of the park technically, and just as spectacular as the east side, but not nearly the crush of people, and you don't need a permit or anything to camp, and you don't have to camp in just these designated spots. So, you know, in Alaska Basin, you're not allowed to have campfires, but you can pretty much just camp anywhere. So you can just find a good flat spot away from anybody else, just out on your own, no other people, and it's awesome. It just swallows you up, and that is not the way it works on the east side of the Tetons. In the park side, you're going to be camped pretty much just right off the trail. You're going to have people walking by all freaking day. So yeah, west side of the Tetons is where it's at, and it's especially where it's at if you have a dog and you like to hike. So yeah, that's pretty much my video. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, all the fun stuff. Thanks a bunch. Oh, I should say I had to re-record this whole audio because I tried to record at the waterfall here, which is down below Susie Lake here, and when I went back to listen to it, you couldn't hear anything I was saying because of the waterfall. I didn't think that one through. So yeah, thanks for watching.